All right. Well, we have a really special pre-Halloween show tonight on growing up alien, and I want to just like we had to say gratitude, abundance, and joy, and great bliss to everyone as we move forward towards the end of this year. But I want to welcome our special guests as my old friend Evan Howell from the Ancient Pathways, and our new friend. This is Brandon from Expanding Realities. So yeah, we're gonna be rock and roll tonight, man.
Already are. This is amazing. Thank you guys so much for having me. This is fun. This is so much fun.
We
Oh, I
got
was
Halloween, we got
super into
this, we
this.
got the deep
Hey,
state
you got that?
connection. We're like, this is like, yeah.
You got a spittoon full of questions. This is amazing. I'm
Yeah.
excited about all of it. Yeah.
The questions were like, you guys see we got a little spider on the bottom there. Maybe spider.
Oh yeah, yeah.
A
A
little,
few
like,
spiders?
my
I don't know.
familiar.
My familiar's asleep on the couch over there.
Oh,
Yokai, my dog. Yeah, you'll see her soon. That's what I call her, my familiar. I get her in with everywhere with me. She just goes everywhere.
and
Uh,
where's your Mr. Fluff, Evan?
Oh, he actually, I just was cuddling with him on the bed right before I got up for this.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I do actually both verbally and psychically refer to him as my familiar for sure. He's
Oh yeah.
100% locked with me. I
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
gratefully. Yeah.
And it's great that and I love cat. I love all animals. We have donkeys. We live on a ranch, and so we've had many animals through here. I've got scars from raising peacocks. We have had horses. I've got probably bumps from being thrown off of, and all that kind of stuff. So we love all animals, but my like familiar is this particular dog, and I've never really called an animal that. Like they've all been super close to animals my entire life. The wife and I, in fact, do not have human children for a lot of reasons, but this is one of them as well. Is we've got a lot of love to give to these animals, and so this one though in particular, she just came into my life end of last year in a really dark time for me personally, and just I didn't feel ready. I was like somebody else needs to take her, all that kind of stuff, and thank God I stuck it, and she stuck it through, and she's just the best, coolest thing ever, dude. And so yeah, she's in all ways my like familiar. I can look at her, she knows. I've never easily trained a dog as easy as that. She just knows. And she was young. She's like 2, so we got her when she was like 1 and some change. We think, the vet thinks. But awesome, amazing thing. And I've never had that connection this deep with an animal, and I've connected with a ton of animals really deeply. So this one's especially and particularly special, I will say. But it's also it had to be a dog. It wasn't going to be a pig or a bird or something like that. It like you, Evan, you probably align with that dog spirit, right? That loyalty aspect of it, and it's just that pack mentality, man. It's just really cool. So, anyway, yes, I have my familiar. She's laying over there on the couch. She will sometimes just either wander by or hop up in the back of the chair with me here. So we'll see. I've
Again,
actually
not
designed a seating chair so that your animals can sleep with you all around you while you do podcasts or work or anything else. It's pretty cool.
Well, she came
nothing
in.
against cats either. Sorry, I didn't
No,
mean
no,
to
no. We
interrupt.
love cats. I have cats too. You'll probably see one's butthole stroll through here in front of the
I
camera in a
know. Yeah.
minute too. Yeah, yeah.
Well, she came in for you, Brandon, at that time on purpose. So that was a soul connection.
Definitely. And we had a friend, Mary, actually. Oh, I'll go ahead and plug this and say it's because it's all connected. This is what's so cool about this life, dude.
Oh,
So we have a dear friend of ours named Whitney Fox, and she was giving away a tarot reading on Instagram one day. A bunch of people entered. Mary entered. My wife, Mary entered rather. And so she actually got chosen. So at random or whatever, she picked Mary. And so Mary and her sat down for a reading, and she said you were going to have a healer come into your life very soon. And this was when I was in my shit. I was going through what they call the dark night of the soul. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that shit,
yeah,
but man, it's
yeah,
it's
yeah.
also referred to as your Pluto square. Everybody kind of hits it around 38, 42, somewhere in there. I was going into 41, ending 39, going into 41, and it just hit the shit. And so for about 2 years here, it was really fucking rough. I'm on the other side of it now, which is great. But she came into my life at the end of this really hard time. But it was still in the shit. But like, it was just really, really hard. So, but the thing that Mary's reading with Whitney said was a healer will come into your life. Well, this dog is, of course, a mix because the best breed of dog is a rescue, right? And she was found on my sister-in-law, my wife's sister's front porch. This dog wandered up in Fort Worth, Texas, which is about 45 minutes an hour away from where we live. We live way out in the country. So this dog wandered up. They have a bunch of cats and stuff too. Dog did not go anywhere for like 2 days, and cars would drive by, and nothing would get its attention. They wouldn't let it in or anything like this. So took pictures, brought her over. Turns out, of course, I mean, she's a healer, Texas healer, Australian Kelpie mix as far as breeds go. And in Mary's reading, she said that we would get a healer, right? So literally, we got a Texas healer that came in, and I've, like I said, never connected with a dog more. It's just incredible. So yeah, right around the time, it's all perfect. And like I said, I'll plug this because Whitney's an incredible artist. This is also what
That.
Whitney can do.
Thank-
And this is a piece that she did. Hey, Evan, there you go. This is a piece that she did on the newest journal that we have. This is the 8th book that we have and published there on Amazon and Barnes and Noble under the expansion series. And this is a deliberate one. There's all kinds. There's some for artists, some for writers, but this I hand drew, and it has just a following. You could like a deliberate way of going about your day, right? This is how you start. It's an intention based mindfulness study of you. And Whitney did the cover of this one. She also did the cover of Wisdom Expansion, this amazing owl that I just do not have near me. But anyway, so yeah, all of it leads back to these amazing synchronicities, and all of it leads to the dog's familiars and your raven there with a spider on it. Yeah, it's all connected, you know?
Yeah, I'm like you. I got all kinds of chickens and horses and all that stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
My
You
whole
get
life.
it.
My whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this will just Raven just happens to be my spirit animal. So it's one of mine.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I heard about experiment earlier that now that you mentioned that extra connection to your familiar, I do want to try more now. But like supposedly it's if you look at your dog from whatever angle, or Andrea, it'd be more interesting to see if you could get it with like the variety of animals. But while they're asleep, you supposedly you can look at them and they'll wake up and look right at you. Or like if you're not around, you can like peek around the corner and look, and then they'll like get a sense of something going on and like eyeball you out for it, which is interesting because obviously there's a lot going on there. But
well, the animals are telepathic. They're way advanced. You know, they weren't subjected to all the.
Yeah, good call. God, I never thought of that. Of course, because they weren't traumatized, right? And the ones that are like very loyal, but they, you know, oh, I didn't mean to cut you off, Andrew. You just made me think of that observation that was made by the natural scientist. I forget the guy's name, but he talked about how, let's say, fight or flight response in human beings is, you know, we encounter something dramatic where we need to take action. It spikes our adrenaline. We then use up that adrenaline, and we then move on. We should move on. Humans don't necessarily do that, but the animal kingdom, a gazelle that's been chased by a lion or something like that, the lion got his buddy. The gazelle stops thinking about it almost immediately. It stops coming down. It comes down, and it just goes back to eating grass when it's safe again. It's not thinking about it all day long, allegedly. The other thing about this is bickering in the animal world as well. They sort of come in, they like two ducks was the example. They come in, they'll fight, and then they move off and swim in two opposite directions. The other one doesn't like go murder the other one's family in the middle of the night. You know what I'm saying? So there's no like carrying of the baggage. It's like an expression of the energy, and then you move on. And I think the animal kingdom teaches us a ton in this way. You know, dogs, same thing. If it's between glass, and that was that great meme on the internet, right? A meme about the internet, people on social media, and it showed these two dogs between a glass door, and they were, ah! And the second you open the glass door, meaning remove that protective layer of invisibility or permeability, right? Then they just both were like, oh, hey, how are? Oh, you're a dog too? Yeah, I'm a dog too. Hey, how's it going? So like you remove this. It's just really interesting when you start to think about it that way. But of course, they wouldn't carry things, number one, the same way. And I think that there is a difference between also the automatic natural world around us. It seems more syncopated, I'll say, but then domesticated animals that you make real deep connections to. In the same way that NPCs running around in the background of reality are different than your wife, for instance, or your partner. You know, that's a deeper connection with one of the entities in the realm rather than a background character, in the same way animals would be, right? So I think that that would function a little bit more personally to you, which is where the telepathy would come in, absolutely. But
Yeah,
nature knows when you're out in it, for sure. Before you see
well,
it, nature knows you're there.
I've been an animal communicator. That was the first thing I did. Well, I obviously was mind reading people without realizing, but being an animal communicator. So they told me everything I needed to know. One of the things that animals have is that they haven't been programmed about concepts of death. So what they generally teach humans is that what the ETs already know, which is that, oh, this is just an experience in the reality, and then it doesn't really matter one way or the other. Which is why when people see a lot of matrix thinking humans that have been programmed on the concepts of death, when they see that, say the gazelle story, they interpret it as the animal is somehow dumb or doesn't have feelings, that lacks compassion, but it's actually not the case at all, because the animal understands the deeper nature of physicality, that everything is in the now, the past, present, future, it's all in the now, that you have many lives and you'll have many lives to come. So it is just an experience, a brief experience. You shed your clothes, you have another one if you want it. So animals are already, to me anyway, they're far more advanced than ETs.
Do you think that this is what may happen then when people ask for no struggle in life, is that they reincarnate as an animal that doesn't take on struggle the same way? So they'll stop, let's just for shits and gigs here. You have a choice when you reincarnate, right? And when you come back, you can choose either I want to keep going on this level, like I'm going to keep going up the mountain, okay, that I've been climbing, or you can say, dude, I'm done with this fucking mountain. Sort of like the walk-in cases of Sheila Seppi or Ken Lloyd or something like this, where they had traumatic events and something else came in and like their soul walked out, something else stepped in, and then now they're this new thing, right, in this husk. So with that, I would think then, that would then, because what ignorance is bliss, right? Because if you don't want the path of pursuit, I mean, with that comes struggle, and with that self-identity and self-awareness, that's where the struggle comes in. So it sounds like the abandonment of self-identity and self-awareness embodied in life, in a life form, would be the way to go to escape, air quotes, sort of the idea of purgatory or suffering or something like that. I mean, because then it's an instant reaction, right? You just kind of live your life on autopilot, then you die. And so, like, something traumatic may happen, but you're experiencing it in the moment. You have no context about it, and then you die. And then maybe also you get a choice. Okay, are you done living as a rabbit, or you want to hop back on this train? We can put you back in a couple levels back from where you started. You got some catch up to do. I don't know. And how many times have we chosen that, right? To just go, fuck this. How many times have we been Cypher in the Matrix just going to just plug me back in? I don't want to know, Ignorance is bliss, right?
Well,
it's interesting to think of it from that perspective.
So a couple of things happen. So I'm a walk-in. I remember entering this body.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm a Pleiadian, a hell Pleiadian walk-in. So I remember when I was a child, and my work here was to observe. So I remember that ever since I was little. I think I walked in around 2 years old. So what happens to humans is that they were not anymore, but they were caught in the Anunnaki soul trap, which is an extraterrestrial consciousness type hologram, if you want to call it that, something like that. So they have things like karma and all that, which we don't have, because it was superimposed onto the like the ether section of humans. When they passed on, their souls would be taken, and they were given the stories that you often would hear about, well, when you did this person, that, you want to go back and do it again. Oh yeah, I want to go back and do it again. You go back into the matrix. So that this is why they call Earth a prison planet. That's been lifted, but so basically what everything you mentioned is exactly the stories that many humans believe, because they've simply told themselves that is how it is. So they create their own reality based upon what their belief systems of reality are.
Yeah. And everything is mirroring back to you and just sort of asking you a 3-word question. Are you sure? Like all the time. So if you're experiencing something new, you start out on a new journey. Right. It's going to ask, are you sure, in the form of setback, insert whatever here. But I mean, it's a psychological, it's a mind journey. Yeah. And it is interesting you mentioned the soul trap. I think that's a fascinating concept. And I feel that what's going on in the sovereignty community sort of could be one of the keys to unlocking answering the question correctly at the end of this game, which is, do you want to play it again? And I think it's always been your choice. And I do agree with you that there is a sales, I picture it like a bunch of timeshare lizard turd salesmen, yeah. And they sort of are in these weird gross suits, and they're just like, ugh, and they're gross and sticky, and they're like, hey, you did this, and this, and they guilt trip you into saying, yes, I do want to go back there because I can do better. And the thing about this game, I feel, is that it's not set up to win. It's set up for you to figure out that it's not set up to win, and then just do your best with those in your path, and then move on and get the fuck out of here. But I think that you've got to declare it. And so I agree with you that people are tricked to come back here. I think it'd be, I don't know about it being gone. Like, I haven't made it to the end and been asked the question, you know, and I have not had a near death experience, and I'm not interested in that experience. So I'm just gonna ride this thing out with where I'm at with it. And it's all fascinating to me because the people that do come back have very similar stories. And so
Yeah.
I've gotten way past, you know, years ago, the idea that it was so cool that I couldn't see the next layer of it, which could be this possible apprehension, right? That they're sending a bunch of salespeople back to Earth in the form of near-death experiences to then just convince us that it's a really cool thing, and you know, your grandma's there. And I mean, now I'm just to the point I'm probably throat chop whatever presents itself as grandma to go to actual grandma, which is just me that created a grandma to experience at some level, right? And so it just kind of depends on, you know, if you get the govern me harder daddy question right at the end of this thing, I think is really what the deal is with this. But I mean, of course, also you just get to a point where you understand and have so much awareness here that yes, it is just a ride, and you can come back and go whenever you want, and death is just an illusion, and all that. And then it offers you the power of it and the choice, which is probably what you had to begin with, which is why you're here. You know what I mean? I find that part of it fascinating.
Well,
Well,
that's,
everybody's filter on that too. I didn't mean to cut you off, Andrea. Go ahead. I don't.
oh, no, no, I was just agreeing. Yes.
Oh, I agree to that. I was going to say everybody's filter on that like is unique. Also, like the way, like you said, whatever about the near death experience, and I there's one of those on the list of the on my bucket list that I took too much whatever in my teens and went to outer space, and that's space in the universe may be the same energetic spot that your mind goes that Andrea goes because I almost mentioned it before we kicked off the recording, but and Andrea's deal that as far as I can reach out personally, and again, the audience and yourself believe what you want, but she's got a solid connection with the phone upstairs, like whatever different energies up there, she does decent with like you are with putting people together, like, oh, you need to talk to so and so, like she does that with like upstairs. Is pretty on point from as far as I track on my end.
That's
Now,
awesome.
and
Extraterrestrials, not like divine thing. Extraterrestrials.
well, but yeah, maybe some
Some viewers,
qualify
well,
as
I
well
don't know,
as
I
possible.
know on my channel CTs, but I mean, you never know. Some other viewers, again, from Brandon's channel, is going to think you're talking to like, no, no, no. I'm talking to physical body extraterrestrials. I do talk to non-physicals as well, extraterrestrials. Um, but yeah,
When the nomenclature extraterrestrials is applied, is it applied in the sense that they're other beings from other lands that are occurring at this time now, or how does this work with their physical proximity? Are we in a basically are we on a ball or a flat Earth? Like, how does it fit into all the different modalities and thoughts, because they're pretty juxtaposed in my mind? I know this is a huge thing, and I'm asking you a question. In my mind, extraterrestrial could include just simply extra land, meaning an unaware territory that exists, okay? But that doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be on a ball spinning somewhere else way away or interdimensional. It could be physically located here, and we've just been told that the map is the territory, which it is not. There's much either more territory or a completely inverted world underneath this one, uh, or we're inside of a world and it's on top, whatever. There are so many different world modalities that come into play with where these beings could reside.
Mhm.
And whenever that comes up, I'm curious what, if you've asked, and what they've told you, if you don't mind.
Well, I was born on Era, so I grew
Which
up in
is
a planet.
a planet, okay, and
So
like a sphere that also orbits a star and all of that.
we had to terraform a planet. We were, well, this is past life, and we terraformed it. But when I came, so I'm actually from the future. So interdimensionality actually occurs very simply if you're in a ship that has warp drive. So we're all, so from my perspective, I work with extraterrestrials who are beings that are born on other planets. So extraterrestrial in that sense means I don't use that term, they don't use that term, but it's someone who was born on another planet. So
Hyperdimensional, is that the more of a term they
We
use?
all are. We
I
all
get it. It's like the people in Brazil don't call Brazil nuts Brazil nuts.
right.
They just call
Yeah,
them nuts because
exactly.
they're
Yeah.
fucking there. I get
So
it.
Earth is Terra, and the people on Earth are Terrans, and they're just the same. So what we're doing right now is liberating Earth from the baddies, the lizard turds, but the bad humans at this point, who are mind controlling, programming the humans on this planet and keeping them in a really shitty situation. This is a prison planet. So that's why we came here. But we don't see the Earth as anything different, or I hate to use the word special, but I mean, I guess anything. It's all one big happy family, basically. You have Mars, you have Venus, you have the Alpha Centauri systems, you have the Taurus, Pleiadian system, all the different galaxies. We just are one big happy family. And we want to now open up the Earth to that reality. And also interdimensional. I mean, we are interdimensional. Like I can easily go back and forth in time because there's no time. There's no time. So all these things are going to be. Well, that's one of the questions actually I was going to fall out of the hat to throw out to you guys. I can throw it out there now since we're talking about it. What do you think your average Terran is going to, how they're going to react to this reality that, is it a ontological shock possibly that, guess what? You're not alone in the universe.
I think it depends on the mouthpiece it comes from, for sure.
Oh,
The people hearing it from the government are just misled anyway, and so that's going to be the story that they get. They've already been telling you their move on how they want to reveal this, which is
yeah.
all the people that they have up there in military medals displaying all of their information, and then giggling about the fact that they can't say it all right here, but they do want to talk about more later and all that kind of stuff behind closed doors and blah, blah, blah. So I think that it's paraded in front of people to already, number one, put you in a motive that it's a threat because it's always coming from a military mouthpiece. They haven't asked Jacques Vallée to stand up there. You know what I mean? So, or you or anything, right? And so it is something that mankind is going to need to sort out for itself. I definitely see it that way, but I also think that it's easy within the context of all of it to be misled in the sense that even things claiming to be interdimensional, intergalactic, anything like that are awesome and fantastic and do possess those things, but they do so unaltruistically. And I feel that what a lot of people are seeing in the sky could be man-made, number one, and number two, something out of Chris Horn and Thomas Putnam's book, Exo Vaticana, which talked about the coming deception from the sky being that a bunch of aliens, air quotes, ships were going to come down, but they were really more of a demonic force that was here to apprehend humanity, and that they've already laid the groundwork with a lot of people who claim to be in contact with them and have given them instructions and have told them really cool things that panned out, and all of which they can orchestrate and set up. Just sort of like the Bible could be a book that was written a long air quotes time ago, but really what it is it's molded history from the perspective of people that don't have time as a restriction, so they can plan something way back there, plant a psychic information, this perception managed populace, and then just keep breeding those people, and off it goes. And I think that the level of discernment in this reality is never needed to be higher, meaning that if you've got an outside source of information, it needs to be scrutinized hard. And I would ask it hard questions. Again, there's a lot of conflicting evidence about realities and how they can be. And what I would say is that a lot of these folks, I'm pulling up a map here and I'm doing my best to find you a good scale map. Evan, do you mind or whoever has the meeting, do you mind if I share screen?
If you can, yeah. My computer's really lousy.
Oh, no worries. I think it's a permission you have to
I
ask.
think you just have to let them do it is the thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so if you go down to share, there's going to be a little arrow next to it to the right, and you could just click multiple participants.
Mine does not share sound.
Next to React.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be right next to that little green arrow. That's the share arrow, the sharrow, if you will.
This show, oh, I like that's the new name. That's what it's called now.
Mine is weird. Let me see if I'll do it this way. Okay, oh, there it is. Oh, awesome. All participants.
Okay, there we go. And at the same time, I was able to find this thing. Okay,
I know.
outstanding. This is one of the questions I've got, and when I think about this realm and think about all kinds of, have you ever seen this map before?
Yes.
Okay. It is from, just so everybody has it here, a book called Terra Infinita by a guy named Nos Confunden, who does a really cool job. So I highly recommend this book right here. Highly recommend if anybody's interested, we'll go ahead and give them a plug. It's a fascinating story, okay? It's very interesting, but what this offers is new perspective, like anything, right? And that's the beauty of what we can experience here. Now, when things out there start telling me about the shape of stuff, one of the things that here, hang on, this is zooming, but it's glitchy zooming. One of the things that I think about is that M. Night Shyamalan movie, The Village. Have you ever heard of that or seen that movie, The Village?
Village, yes.
Isn't that awesome? Okay, to catch the audience up for a little bit of a spoiler here, The Village takes place in some ancient, we would say like Jonestown type time where it's super scary or whatever, and there's a wall and then they can't go over it. Well, somebody went over the wall at some point, and it turns out they're in modern times. There's just a no-fly zone over that property because it's sort of like a cult kind of a thing, and they're out in the middle, living off the land, don't even know that modern society exists. You think also about the cargo cults in World War II, where there were these Polynesian islands that the U.S. used for staging bases for artillery, for aircraft. They built runways and all kinds of stuff so that they could use it to then infiltrate further. And what they gave to the peoples they found on these islands in exchange for using their islands was a bunch of, shit that we would eat, like corned beef hash and like all these canned goods and breads and all these products that these people had never seen. Excuse me. But they didn't have to hunt for it and all that kind of stuff, right? Well, World War II comes to an end, or they no longer needed those particular islands for staging, and so they shag ass. They pull forces. The people of the island ended up building mock wooden airplanes to scale of what these were. And in fact, I'll just pull this up as we're talking about it because it's too cool. These cargo cults that were in, here we are. So these guys, after the U.S. left, look at this thing. This is built out of wood. And what they did was they built the planes that came down. They built radar stations. They built mock wooden airplanes and stuff, and then just sat underneath them, lit fires and sat underneath them, waiting for their gods to return with the food that they wanted. So what's interesting about this is, and you look at this little guy. He built these little things, to mimic the headgear of one of the operators of the craft. Radio operator, something like that. So again, this is modern day people, World War II standards, that were convinced that these people were gods, built homages to them to bring them back. So it's sort of like what they say about the geoglyphs in, where is it, Nazca or something like this, right? But if you applied this mentality and what we just said about the M. Night Shyamalan is that there's a lot of shit that can fool humanity. Humanity is fucking dumb. I'll say that. Humanity, I'll say this, not dumb, we're dulled. Okay, dulled is different because we can achieve dulled. We can figure dulled out. So
we can resharpen.
There we go. Thank you. Yes, I'll grab it and bring it right back. We just catch it in real time. So one of the things I think about when we talk about Earth models and things like this, and I know, Evan, you're a frequency theorist, so we had the episode "The Moon is Bullshit," and we talked about all kinds of stuff. And I talked to Bart Sebrel last night with Bart Sebrel. He made a funny thing happen on the way to the moon, and he was the guy that got punched by Buzz Aldrin trying to get him to swear on a Bible. Anyway, I was on with Legit Bat last night, so I'm plugging their episode. It should be out very soon. Anyway, we were talking about all kinds of stuff, and when it comes down to it, what I find fascinating about all of it, the alien narrative, the moon narrative, the space in general, the quasars, we're the way the fuck out here and millions of miles away and all these kinds of things, it all presupposes that this is nowhere near that concept. And then what I think about is if this is the concept, or let's say that it's much more finite. Let's say that there's a more simple version of this that's, let's say here, okay, where it's, yes, us right here. These are shit pictures, aren't they? Okay, here we go. Let's say that this is us right here, and then there are extra lands out here, like the map found in the cave in Japan in the 50s, right? That showed all the extra land, and then just a couple of years ago, Japan also found 14,000 islands that they didn't know they had. So Japan, again, representing unknown and newly discovered lands physically in this environment. Then when we talk about that this could possibly be the extra lands here, it doesn't need to be as elaborate as that other thing, but we'll get there. Then this would, all it would need to be is these people tell these people that they're on a ball, because that's the deal, right? It's M. Night Shyamalan style. It's a nope fly zone here. And if you are going to fly, you need to pretend to be a time traveler, an interdimensional guy. You need to pretend to be some other planet and all this kind of shit. But maybe extraterrestrial doesn't necessarily mean that. It may mean just extra land right out here that has a story for you, because it needs for you to think this for now. But I think that, again, this is all key puzzles and things like that for us to figure out. So again, the moon thing kind of presupposes, space thing kind of presupposes that space is a place you can go. The moon's a place you can go. Those are things that I have not been convinced of. I've just not. And one of the more interesting concepts to me then incorporating what these people are experiencing as extraterrestrial would be something like this. And this is just, again, a model from the Terra Infinita book that I will go ahead and plug again. The guy's cool. He's written a couple, and they're just fun. They're interesting. Now, if you think about our landmass here, and let's see if we can, this may be a little glitchy, but zoom in a little bit. Okay. It's actually the best resolution photo of this I've ever seen. They're usually
me
so
too.
bright. So whenever you think about this, then you've got the lands of Mars right here, okay? Then you've got the Anunnaki lands right over here. You've got all sorts of things happening here. Now, if you zoom this out, what is this? Maybe a cell, something like this, a cell of a being, and maybe if you zoom out far enough, it's just your ass, who knows? This is what all of this could be. But I think that the extraterrestrial element of it doesn't necessarily mean that we're on balls and spinning around, because that also doesn't necessarily jive. And I'm no flat earther. I'm just a critical thinker. I'll be clear about that as well. I've just not been convinced that the sphere is what's going on as far as livable habitats. But if you have incarnated over here, maybe the deal was as well that everybody thinks that they're on a sphere, and everybody has to figure out eventually that they're not. And so, of course, you would then be told, you're on a sphere here, and it's called this planet, and you're on a sphere here, and it's called this planet. And then things that visit from Mars have a deal that they know that they're on a planet. You're on a ball, guys, right? Maybe it's a briefing that they get on the way to the lands of Jupiter. Okay, Jupiter, they're a flat plane. They know all about it, but they don't know about this island over here, so don't tell them. Okay, got it. Now we can go. Like a customs, for people that visit these lands. I find it interesting, again, because the ball narrative, what that pushes is all kinds of things. There's so many things that are in line with that concept that don't resonate with me to such deep levels that I have challenges integrating the ideals that embody it. Does that make sense? But this is something I find cool as shit. This is something I could see that some alien would tell you, hey, I came from this land over here, but you're on a ball. And I can't tell you that.
In theory, but I think when you go up into space on a ship, then I think that might be.
And the other part about this is it could be all of it, right? It's a realm Earth, perhaps. It's whatever you think it is. If you blast off in a rocket, a ball could render under you. I mean, why
I
not?
wouldn't blast off in a rocket. I've been up in an actual ship, but
you got to go up in a ship?
Yeah, when I was little, all the time. So my
very cool
of that map, and I don't know what the man who created the map's intentions were, but my interpretation is I wonder if he's looking at stacked times where he's seeing
that's the other thing, right?
Many different Earths, because there's more than one Earth. There's many timelines and there's many dimensions. So I'm wondering if what your man is looking at is that he's thinking it in terms of he's superimposing all of the nows that the Earth, the different dimensions of Earth, onto that flat. I mean, I don't know what I just know what I understand from, so we don't use the term extraterrestrial. That's a human word. We just have cultures and beings that we all interact with. So it's a different concept for us than it is for the humans. So we don't separate ourselves out. We don't have an us and them. We have an us. And there are some extraterrestrials who are, of course, regressive, and the Earth has already undergone for thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, regressive extraterrestrial attacks. So that's now been liberated. That's now been removed. And the extraterrestrials that are here, that humans call extraterrestrials, I don't use that term, but my family and me, Evan, our role here is to act in great benevolence and love to the humans that are on this planet. We are humans, or humanoids. So we want to suggest to the humanoids on this planet that you don't have to live in a toilet bowl anymore. And that's the goal, ultimately. So Yeah, I've been on spacecraft. My husband used to take me up. So I'm married to I'm from Era. I'm married to a man from Era. He's the man I telepath with. He's the one who talks to my audience. And he always suggests that. Number one, he never contradicts anyone. He doesn't want to do that because he wants people to have their cultures and belief systems. It's a very beautiful thing. So they don't want to, and in fact, they're very excited to come here and enjoy the different cultures, the ethnicities, the music, the food, all these wonderful things that exist on this planet as they do on other planets. So he doesn't try to convince anyone. He actually telepathed for people who have religions. He's like, look, and I wanted to make it seem like if you were to walk up to this guy and shake his hand, are you really going to hate him? And that's why I show him with our son. So it kind of resonates with people that way to say, like, you're just going to be meeting another person. Why, do you really want to just automatically hate? So hopefully, I mean, the goal was to create unity and love. But I don't know how we can, other than meeting people one-on-one, we're not here to convince people that we're out for, I'm not out to hurt anyone. I know he's not out to hurt anyone. And I know the people that we work with are not out to hurt anyone. So people can believe whatever they want. I mean, if they want to superimpose upon us that we're bad people, I mean, we can't stop that, but it is what it is.
Well, I'll give my slap on the answer to your question too. If maybe a bridge the grounds a little bit. Like, Brandon, are you on deck with like that map representing some form of like a representation of what we're sitting in right now? Like,
It could be, or something like this, something to where it's one of these more turtles all the way down kind of concepts.
Yeah,
well,
what that looks like to me is all the different dimensions. That looks like stacked books of dimensions.
Sure, and that's the thing, right? Is it? I don't know how the human eye may perceive these concepts outside of the refraction of this sun and this light. Like, it may not be something that's as achievable, because as far as our bandwidth of vision goes, it's fuck all, right? And so, but when you get out of our visible light spectrum, what are you offered in the form of something else to look at? Maybe this is why God's so bright and you can't look at it, because anything outside of this dimension tuned to your eye is given this vehicle that you have to traverse where you are now. You're not in another dimension or the stars or on it. You're here now. And so the interesting part about that is your body is tuned to this frequency, and that's why you resonate here. And that's what I think is so cool. I hate this, by the way. I thought this was a prison planet. I didn't care for it at all. Now I feel that it's a great power to be able to take yourself at your highest level and to vibrate down to just be here, to know that there are those extra frequencies available to you at some degree, but you're choosing to ignore them on purpose so that you have this specific experience here. And that's why I think it's interesting as well when we consider, you've been on a ship, you've flown around. The technology that it takes to do that, I would assume, is not what we're using to like power our homes or anything like this. And my first question, I suppose, would be, is where's the grassroots integration with those who are really ready to move outside of the system and have sustainable lives in places like we've talked sovereignty. We've got all kinds of reasons for a UFO guy to come down and give us a little box-sized piece of technology to run this entire place. And it hadn't happened. I've never seen a UFO, never seen anything. Now, what I feel is my experience here is to experience a lot of different ideas and to see where they lead me, uninhibited by any of those ideas really manifesting in my reality. Meaning, I think aliens and shit are cool and interesting. I've never experienced it, never made contact. The psychedelic realm, fascinating and amazing. Never met anything over there that would pose itself or try to convince me that it was something else. Archangels and shit like that, ghosts, all kinds of Bigfoot, all kinds of. I think it's neat. It's never come to me. And so in my attempt to understand all of this, I think a lot of this also has to do with the malleability of the perception of human beings, and that a lot of things here, what we experience as things here, they do a great job of pulling us away from here to somewhere else so that we ignore the importance of our mission here.
And what I've actually something the humans would do themselves. We're not doing anything like that. They would
No. Yeah. No, not you. I'm absolutely not talking about you. There's so many different facets to this because a lot of people channel a lot of things, and a lot of people get conflicting information, or a lot of people get wonderful information all the way up until that beautiful voice that told them things that they could trust their entire life, told them to drown their kids in the bathtub, and then they did it because why would it lie to them? It told them all the other things. So again, the level of trust people put in this external
Well,
manifestation is interesting to me when we think about it, is all. But
what
I think that its help here is vital. And I think that its help now has been more vital more than ever. So I'm ready for the ship. I've got a playlist on Spotify for when a UFO picks me up. I'm ready for it. I've got a badass mix ready to go, you know? I'm ready to go for a ride.
Well, the
well
problem,
what
I mean,
I
Evan, the problem is, well, first of all, we already have electrogravitic propulsion here already. We already have the free energy devices, the boxes, but we don't use boxes upstairs. It's a lot more complicated. So the humans already have these things. The problem is that your government system, the deep state, whatever you want to call it, is outright killing, but preventing this from rolling out. And they've also used so much propaganda upon the humans that they don't really understand what's actually going on. However, I will say that recently I've seen a massive shift. In fact, the lady I met yesterday, she's like, I've always thought I was from Saturn. I said, you were, because you are from Saturn. So I call it, this is the stage of the remembering, where humans are going to come, the Earth human is going to come into the realization, understanding of their own personal power, and that they don't need to bow down to anything else other than what they choose to. That they don't need to be forced to do things by these, systems that they've been feeding off them for so long. So ultimately, we're not going to force anyone to do anything. So we bring down a med bed. You don't have to use it. We bring down anti-aging technology. You don't have to use it. That's the way we do things. Because we have free will. On my planet, it's total free will. We do have a government, but it's free will. So there isn't anyone. There's no. I mean, we've sort of mitigated the concept of polarity, where I'm right, you're wrong. This guy, this is about. We've mitigated that. Where I appreciate you, that kind of thing, because you're going to be. And this is what actually a friend of mine had mentioned. The humans on Earth can't even get along with each other. You're going to be seeing people that look a little different from you. Well, you couldn't tell if an extraterrestrial actually met you, Brandon, anyway. You wouldn't know because they're human. You wouldn't know. So they are living amongst us by the millions. The humans on this planet are going to have to mature to a level where they can meet and greet beings in a very peaceful way, in a non-argumentative way, and appreciate the different culture that other being offers. And some of them are going to look very different. There's reptiloids, insectoids, all these different beings that exist. Not only the ones that are coming out from inner Earth as well. So what we hope for humanity is great prosperity, great abundance, and great peace. But again, no one's forcing anyone anything like this. I believe it's going to roll out no matter what, simply because they will destroy this planet.
well my take on it for the map reference was my look at it is there's ones that exist outside this whole system of time as we look at it.
Yeah.
There's man-made whatevers, and then there's off this place ones like so I think that jives with Brandon's take on it. But
Yeah.
to the box point that Brandon made, I would say it would be easier just as an acceptance level. Like if we'll just say there was a little camp out in the middle of the woods in Montana and we made our own box, and then like it came all of a sudden one day we're all out having a picnic, and then Andrea, Evan, and Brandon get a visit from a guy, and he's like, we're up there watching you, or like however we saw you through time, we saw your rudimentary caveman box there. That's cute. Like, here's something nice for you guys. Like, keep up the work. Like, we like the direction you're headed.
Yeah, you got to kind of present it first before they'll help, right?
Yeah, they don't see us like as less than, and that's one of the, I mean, They just probably come and have some fun with you, have some coffee and hang out, and because there's time on planets, but there's no time upstairs on the ships.
What do they say about those, though? So, do they have what I'm hearing from this is a non-interference kind of clause, right? It's
That's
that
not
the
true
good
at all.
ones.
That's a myth.
Oh, just non-interference with me kind of
Well,
clause. And then, so with that, then I would say that it's interesting, though, because, and I know you'll probably get to this, but, the bad aliens, if we want to say the nefarious ones, the ones who motivate us for change, don't have the same policy. They seem to be, their job seems to be infiltration and takeover and subjection and perception management and all of that. And so one would ask if the bombardment is so able and karmically fine to just go destroy, why is there no equal and opposite, if not greater force of help for those being destroyed? It seems a perpetual cycle that the aliens, if anything, are willing participants in, if nothing else, because what is the saying about God, right? Because their level of technology could change this place forever. It could make us independent on fossil fuels. It could collapse the lizard turds forever, and we could finally move on and do cool shit, right? But their inability to reveal that to even the smallest portion of humanity in a way to cloak it even from detectable, and I've heard all the arguments
That's
about it.
actually more complicated than that. So the problem with Earth, and yes, here's the deal with non-interference. Yes, there is non-interference because whenever they give the said technology to beings that don't have the maturity, they kill themselves. What happened on Earth was the Earth beings, well, they've actually been seeded some technology. So you had the reptilian forces, the Sikaar and the Nebu and the Greys that came here, the Anunnaki as well. They gave the technology to negative, nefarious, that's so awesome, nefarious, the Cabal, the Illuminati, their ring. And we have all this technology. They just can't come in, number one, because, well, we have the scalar weaponry to take down ships. Well, it's not going to happen now because it's already been fixed, but you had a military war with a very advanced reptilian civilization that had some serious firepower. The good guys didn't have matching firepower. So it was a strategy war. So yes, they could have started shooting here and just started. That did happen. That is what your Indian Vedas, the Mahabharata, all those tell of an extraterrestrial war on Earth. So this was a diplomatic mission intended to create as little distress and massive death, including destruction of a planet, which is what you see with Mars, and also what you saw with the asteroid belt, which was the planet Maldek. You can blow a planet up. The problem is the Earth humans have this, ever since Atlantis, really, I remember Atlantis, they had this regressive streak. Extraterrestrial technology can be used as dangerous weapons. If they gave Earth humans that technology, they would kill themselves, which is kind of what happened in Atlantis. It's a maturation process and that's part of the problem. I mean, look at the Earth humans now. They can't get along. They're all fighting each other. They're all, I hate you, I hate you, I mean, you're going to give these guys, a craft with scalar weapons?
No, and I get there's nuance to this. My question is, why don't they come down and talk to us independently? I wouldn't.
They did. So the problem was, they begged. And they're like, we're here. And all the humans were like, you're not real. Ha, ha, ha. You're just crazy. And that's what happened.
Well, I'd say first, just you being, if you said just in general, like, I know you're open to it, but if you said like, hey, come and kick it with me, I'm down, I'm not a threat, and but
I've done it so many times. The laser, the CE5, the mushrooms, all of it. Nothing comes and talks to me. It's just really interesting.
But if you had like a box rocket and a community of people, they landed and gave you maybe an upgraded box, or if you even had a community of people ready to like visualize or be accepting of it, and it landed, and you're all like not feel like it's a threat. That's another point I wanted to make, was like the truth resonance factor of like, that's, as far as I get, that's the only way when it comes down to the fact of when it's boots on the ground in front of you, like the only way that you're going to be able to tell Andrea or me is like, does this feel like something like approachable and I'm open to it, or is it a bad vibe? I need to get out of here. And hopefully it's
Well,
the Zen vibe.
I mean, they tried, because once we did the nuclear weapon thing, that's when they all started paying attention. And they did come down. The Venusians were the first really to come down, and they made a lot of contacts with people. And what happened was, the people that they had made physical contacts with took them up in ships, all that stuff. No one believed them. And then they stopped doing that. What we did second, this is how, well, they were star seeing at the same time. So the second plan was, because that wasn't working, they're like, shit, these people are going to fucking blow themselves up. And they were. So the next thing that happened was like, okay, we're going to start doing a different approach, because the contactee thing wasn't working. It sort of started to work towards the end. I'm going to say maybe the 90s, because the CIA and all of your government organizations were force feeding. This isn't real. This is ridiculous. There's nobody else. And NASA, they're all doing the same thing. So they were, and the problem with humans is that they're easily programmed in that they don't think for themselves. They always look for some kind of celebrity or some kind of a hero or some sort of god or whatever to dish information. They just swallow it. They don't think about it. So when a government agency, so if, let's say Evan goes up, it's 1979. Evan, you're at Pleiadians, so the Pleiadians come down. They said, Evan, come on up. We're going to show you some stuff. We're going to go home, and we're going to show you technology, and then you're going to go back to Earth. This is what Semyasi did with Billy Meyer. You're going to come back to Earth and go and tell the story. And we're going to be in contact with you, and you're going to keep telling the stories. We're going to start sharing histories and all these kinds of things. We're going to be little technology, keeping it safe. You don't get killed, blah, blah. Everyone comes back and he starts talking like Billy Meyer, blah, 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 blah. I got pictures of air, blah, blah. But you're crazy. You're not. He maybe gets shot or institutionalized because the CIA is bombarding the people with information. Oh, that's crazy. How do they fly in those ships? You don't. Oh, ha, ha, ha. Everything was a big joke. This actually happened in England. With the crop circles. There was a fellow working with the crop circles. He was trying to do real research with crop circles. So the MI5 had some military say, okay, we're going to actually videotape you doing your thing, researching the crop circle. So we're going to wait for a crop circle to form. So they set it all up and they faked it. The military faked it. So the guy sitting there holding the bag going, you're such a weirdo. These are all fake. Ha, ha, ha. And the poor man is like, oh my God, what the fuck just happened, right? Meanwhile, the military was filming a real crop circle at the same time. So this is the main issue that we've had here on Earth is trying to cut through the thick mind. I mean, it's actually a cult. Your average human is under a cult. It's mind control, literally. They've been feeding us with not only, obviously, remove your DNA. That was that one goes back to the Anunnakis. Remove your DNA so you can't think. Breed you into regressives using entropic breeding situations where rape and aggression is used in the mating of humans. That way your offspring are going to be even more wild. Then they started creating religions, and people were worshiping ETs then. That's what you're worshiping. So then that was the fear situation that happened. God and all that stuff, whatever religion you choose to enjoy. But it was based on fear. So the control mechanisms were layered and layered and layered and layered and layered and layered over a very long time. Meanwhile, extraterrestrials, the Pleiadians, and many other benevolents, the Ahel, I'm speaking clear, there were nasty Pleiadians too. It's like the Ahel, we were here helping you guys. We were bringing food, we were bringing corn. I remember going back to the Native American times, and I'm still friends with this old auntie. We were bringing corn, we were bringing food down because the Native Americans are a Hell Pleiadian. We have a Native American looking on indigenous people on Era. So it was just a mind. This is a mind war. We're fighting a mind war. So, and you so clarified all that. We're fighting a mind war. And the only way for humans to understand the real danger, the cataclysmic danger that they've been in and that we're now pushing away, is for them to come to terms with their own power and their own self-love and their ability to come together in unity. That's really all that's going to be able to work here, because, you know,
Which I think, to Brandon's point of the guys in uniform earlier, needing to be the mouthpiece is like,
I believe they will be. Yeah.
but like that'll be like the start of the avalanche. But then like folks like us are like, wait, there's like a real like mystic background to it, spiritual aspect that's valid, like, you know, like, so if they try to preempt the ball rolling, you get what I'm saying? Like, we're like, hold up, like there is validity there. Like maybe they're going to take one of the Uncle Sam brand triangles out and do an air show with it, but these other stuff going on over here is also to your crop circle point. Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, they're doing that. They're flying those R2 TR3B R2. The TR3Bs, they're flying those bastards. People.
No, well, the crop circle point, I was going to say I went to look it up a few years ago, like, because get back into it, like into the mindset of like how this stuff works. I was like, shit, there's so many crop circles on the internet. Like, how do you decipher what ones are legit and what ones aren't? And then I remembered in high school, like whatever, I stumbled across it. Some of them, both the nodes, it looks like afterwards, it looks like the nodes grew, and they're magnetic. Somehow the grass turns magnetic. So I Googled magnetic crop circles and got a bunch of them I think are legit, but
they're legit. That's well, somebody's doing it using electromagnetic technology, because when you walk into a crop circle, you're going to get a reading. And there's a great guy. Several people have done this, and Dave always mentions it. The nodes on the plants. So we've been but again, I mean, the problem is like, we can say that, Evan and I, and we can show the documentation, blah, blah, blah. I can't bring my husband forward now, because they signed a contract with the military. But if I brought my husband forward, no one would believe he was an extraterrestrial.
Shout to Dave Rossi, real quick there.
Yeah, well, Dave, you have those people coming forward with extraterrestrial information that and Dave will tell you, just like Chris Beskar, it's uphill both ways, because God, it's like we're trying to make the world a better place for humans to stop the suffering. And we've taken down most of the bad guys, and right now the military is on our side. I just think for your average, person, they're going to feel comfortable, because your average American loves the military. They're all flag waving, they're all into that. Okay, that's beautiful. And I think that having the military come forward, my husband's in the Air Force right now. He works for USAF. They have a special forces division that is for extraterrestrials. He has a special badge, says USAF on it. It's in Sumerian. It's got a little half moon star on there. And they've been working with our military, starting with the Navy since oh God, I don't want to spend a lot of history class, but 1940, so during the Nazis, was the beginning of that was when a lot of the Nordics began to work with the military, because they're like, they're going to fucking blow themselves. We gotta fuck, because they knew that the reptilians and the Altair, which were the bad Pleiadians, were working with the Nazis. And then of course they have a base in Antarctica. Not anymore. But it was that's what you had mentioned, as Brandon mentioned, non-interference. You're correct. There is a non-interference, and it's for a reason. However, it was lifted for Earth because we're a shit show.
Yeah, I guess the non-interference just seems to be on the side of the people who rape kids and that kind of shit. So it seems to me.
Well, that's a human. The humans were the
right.
So that's free will. They're not going to be. That's part of what we're talking about. Is that we're not going to be the police for the Earth humans. You're going to have to start policing yourself. you're going to have the balls to stand up and say, hey, wait a minute. We're going to fix the government from the ground up. So my husband fought in the tunnels. He saw body parts. He saw children. He saw people in cages. He saw breeding stuff. He saw stuff that he has PTSD and he doesn't want to talk about yet because he can't. So yes, the extraterrestrial soldiers for different federations were fighting side by side with the Earth military. And the stuff they've seen will change you forever.
Well, to your point too, also, Brandon, like what if it's an option to be like break that cycle, like for the example you brought up, like, oh, that has been a direct factor, maybe. So like instead of repeating it, I'm gonna take that and transmute it to something where I can fucking level everybody up instead.
Yeah, it's all motivating, right? I mean, any of it. It's not about the thing. It's just about the thing that the thing produces in you, which is what whole damn place is about. That's why it's all mental. I mean, maybe you're a brain in a vat somewhere just being fed electrodes that make you think that this is an experience. I mean, we can't rule that out. You might be AI becoming self-aware. You can't rule that out. Like, there's so many things that are just unfalsifiable, unprovable, that to say any one, this is what's going on is fascinating to me. I just think that that's interesting, especially when we come down then to nuance with the idea that it seems that if we follow the stories, and there's tons of crazy cool technology here that, again, the people who wish to do us harm, we would say, have a shitload of access to and go unfettered and can just do whatever they want. Now, in the meantime, we get a lot of people telling us that good aliens are here to help and that they have to do it in certain ways. And what it reminds me of, because then immediately, like anyone would ask, like anyone would say this, is that if they can help, then this is obviously a karmic issue here. And you can follow the own logic in the logic within the system. It's a karmic issue that something has invaded here and interfered with the way that humanity has progressed. But by them interfering, it made humanity progress really far. So the thing that's interfering gets a trade-off of human existence for a different type of human existence in return. So they get humans, allegedly, and they can do whatever they want with them, and we get fiber optics and color TV and shit. But the thing about that is that there's some other extraterrestrial forces out there, if not many, that could bind together and immediately eradicate that parasite that is obviously it's obviously in violation of the laws of karma that they can't come and be a part of that. But the thing about that is also I'm thinking of the Bolshevik Revolution, which occurred in the 20s, and also this sort of Q movement, where when action needs to be taken, as far as a populace ready to stand up and move forward, something comes in to tap them on the shoulder and go, hey guys, settle down, we've got it covered. Or we know what's best for you, so you guys just take a back seat, we'll handle it. And then those people listen, and then their government overthrows them and kills them because that thing that tapped them on the shoulder was working for the bad people. So
exactly, yeah.
Where I'm at with all this is until a UFO lands in front of my house and says, hey, dude, you've got access to this, and you can do whatever you want with it, and here's a bunch of things where you can help people with. You can drop this off in any neighborhood, and every square mile is covered for power. Automatically, anything that exists in power, you flip the power switch on, and it's good to go. And until that happens, I'm going to say that there's still a force here to some degree that is perception managing the way that we live our lives. And to that degree, it's number one, unaltruistic, and number two, it doesn't, I feel, have our best motives at heart. I sort of have a diagram I can show you of something that I've been thinking a lot about lately that makes...
That forces your electric company, that forces the fossil fuel industry, that forces the pharmaceutical industry, that forces your banking system, that forces your education system. And
cool. Burn it down.
Your average person, are they ready? See, this is the thing.
But I'm not here for the average person, though, and the average person has been held down by the average person. I think the most dangerous sentence ever spoken by man is, well, that's the way we've always done it. And we are here to not do that anymore. So until the UFO lands in my front yard, I'm going to say lizard turds are still running the show. And anything that's saying that they're not needs to just come talk to me about it. And my offer has been there forever. I've always offered that any of these things are...
I got a guy who'll talk to you.
Like a UFO to land in front of me. It's got to really blow me away here. It's got to smack me in the dick with it. It can't be some dude that walks up and just goes, I'm an alien, because that's not going to do it.
Andrew is the one to put in the request on that. No,
no, do it. I'm here.
That's the best I can offer, and I will tell you that they're not gonna.
I am open to
They
receive,
won't.
Andrea, and I
They
really
won't.
appreciate this.
They won't come down if unless you're gonna meet them in love. They're not. They're not just gonna come down. And it's not like I guess I tell people when I do telepathy, it's like it's not a parlor trick.
Right.
So they
I
operate in
mean,
a different mental system where it's they're not. I mean, they'll come down if you need help. They'll
uh,
help, but they
yeah, we
won't.
need help. I've got great ways to utilize resources, and it seems that even just what I know about what they're semi-capable of, we can appropriate with love.
Yeah.
We've got all the love for this. Okay, one of the things that I just find fascinating here, and I'm just going to go over my little drawing. Evan's so sick of this thing, probably. There is an interesting drawing that allegedly depicts our realm. And what this has down here at its core is what they call the black sun. Okay. And what this is then is the hole in the middle of our realm that leads to the under realm, or what is depicted in Stranger Things as the upside down. I don't know if it's a mirror dimension of underneath. So it's exactly this continental shape and everything just completely underneath and upside down, being illuminated by a dark force of energy. But then we have our sun here, our local sun that is only 33,000 miles up. And then we have our moon here, which has its own illuminated light source from within. And that's why moonlight is colder than shadow whenever the moon is out. It's its own light source, allegedly. So this model also includes our North Star here, which we're going to talk about in a second. But if you look at the shape and design and orientation and configuration of this, we then get one of the most iconic symbols in all of secret shit ever. We get the square and compass from the Masonic symbol. Now, whenever I think of things like that, I feel that what they're really revealing is an alternate truth about the realm itself. Whenever I think of how this place functions after this point, it gets interesting here. And this is where all the stories come in. And this is where the mental part of this realm comes in, okay? What I think about is, let's say that these are all of our continents, land masses. We are in this dome-shaped thing. This is the relative shape of the Earth, and this is what's going on. There's a moon. There's a sun. It operates between the Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, and it's seen. You could anthropomorphize the flat Earth model here. Einstein, all kinds of people even say that the physics of either would work in many, many quotes. So let's just say, for shits and gigs, that this is where we find ourselves, okay? Now, what's out here and does a lot of stuff has infiltration in here. So your mind and your body and your everything here is controlled or controllable by your frequency, okay? Whatever frequency range you operate on, a zero from everything sucks here and I can be misled and I'm not questioning reality, any tick along the way is a different radio station. And with this radio station here, 99.4, will give you is a different radio station than 79.4, okay? So if we say that these are simply resonant frequencies at which you are at and you change constantly, you determine what frequency you're on, that is whatever out here in this realm or reality meets you at. So let's say you're having a shit day. You're way down here to 79.4 frequency. You're going to attract the employee at the store that's got a shit day going on for him as well. They're going to be mean and cross to you, and everything's going to suck. Now, if you're running at this 99 or higher, right, or something better, every employee, every driver, every dog, every cat, everything along the way in your reality is awesome because it meets you at this frequency level, okay? Now, I think that there's also a level at which, when questioning your reality, you become simply unfuckwithable. I think that things stop interfering with you in a range because they just simply can't get it out of you anymore. And what that looks like in real life, I mean, it's training wheels, right? Think of actual physical training wheels on your bike. You needed them for a little bit. Once you excelled at that, the training wheels clapped as they gathered dust in the garage for you because you no longer needed them. In the same sense, perhaps motivating factors as far as lizard turds, demons, anything like that could be those training wheels just showing us that if we question our reality enough, we won't need them anymore. And that they will clap for us as they then are retired to go do something else. I feel that where those things reside is down here, all right? So all the spooks, all the aliens, all the anythings, they reside in what could be referred to as extra land or extraterrestrial area, but really they're more of what a lot of people have talked about being more CEs or crypto-terrestrials, right? Meaning that they come from Earth. They're not from anywhere else, one would say, because they've also said there's nowhere else to go. So if we think about this then, This then is just a force that comes up here at will. It takes little ships and little green men and all kinds of stuff, and it comes up here and it buzzes around and it gives all sorts of narratives, none of which tell you and reveal where you are directly. But indirectly, they do a great deal of revealing where you are. So these things change constantly, right? Their appearance, their ships, all of these kind of things change all the time. One of the interesting things to keep in mind as we go through this is AI cannot render the same image twice. Okay? It just can't do it. It's going to render something very slightly differently, but not the exact same rendering, which could also call into question some sort of simulation of a sense. Let's say that if it can't render the same thing, what it could do is introduce something like wind, so that each time you're looking out, the picture does change and is constantly rendered differently. But whatever's there is still synthetic in nature. And this is where we get back to the idea of not necessarily solipsism, but just that your brain could be in a vat somewhere and you being fed electrodes thinking that you're somewhere completely different. To the
Well,
energetic, please go ahead.
oh no, I was going to say, well, kind of to your point, would like if it was negentropy or and versus entropy, or like in this example, like darkness to light, or say the wind to stillness example, like if it was just two sides of the same energetic polarity, would it matter for anything? Like if we were a brain in a vat or whatever, like just as long as you had like a firm grasp on like that's the way that you need A, B to equal C, like as a whole.
Exactly. And this is where we get into components. Okay, you've nailed it with this. Excellent, Evan. So up here, what does the Buddha say that we can guarantee in our realm? What is absolutely certain here? Is happiness certain? Is ultimate desire and pleasure certain? No, the only thing certain up here is suffering. Okay. Now, when we think about that, the only inevitable thing that we can guarantee we will absolutely encounter, and they said it best on The Simpsons. Bart was having a tough day. Homer consoled him in the best way he could by Bart was saying, "This is the worst day of my life," and Homer correctly corrected him and said, "This is the worst day of your life so far." Okay. Now, when we think about the concept of suffering and we think about the concept of human hope then being exchanged for letdown and disappointment and things being told that they're a certain way being led so far and then things being let down, that's a process. Okay. And what it is a chemical release.
That's just a belief system, because it's just somebody saying like the world is suffering, but not necessarily. I'm not suffering. And you know,
have you ever suffered?
Well, anytime you're in physicality, you can suffer, but it's just a belief system where somebody thinks something and says that's what it is. Therefore, they're manifesting of their own reality, which would be one of suffering. So
yeah, suffering's a choice, right?
Right.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
Anyone who would just say, well, if you're on Earth, it's a realm of suffering, that's their belief system. I choose not to see it that way. So I wouldn't use it as a like sort of a Planck scale or anything where, you know.
That's absolutely fair because it is a subjective term. You're absolutely correct.
I mean, I think that's my impression with a lot of what these people are talking about. It just feels totally subjective. It doesn't really, it's based.
It's 100% subjective. All of this is based on just a perspective, and
not that
any of it could be
right or anything. It's just
it doesn't matter. I don't even think this is right. We're just talking shit here. That's why my show is in the category of philosophy, not this is exactly what's going on. You know what I mean? We just talk about whatever.
I think
the inverse. Oh, I didn't mean. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, to me, it just seems like somebody trying to understand densities and dimensions.
Yeah, and there you go. Right. Yeah. The other thing about this is it is density in systems, and it's also systems and relationships. That's what really my point is to this would be that no matter what, humans have questions and curiosities, which leads to dissatisfaction in some degree. And suffering is part of this realm. Until you figure out that you have a choice to suffer or not, it's part of this realm. And so
it's a part of every realm. And isn't just
maybe
physicality in a 3D or 4D, even a 5D body, you're still going to experience aspects of physicality.
Maybe, right? But in this particular system, we could say and speculate that there's a lot of things up here that attempt to spike the suffer meter and to get you dialed into this lower frequency, I would say. Now, we've seen a big shift here where there's a lot of attempts to rise that level to a higher frequency, and I'd say that we're all succeeding very well at that. But I would also say that there's a system at play here, and that system at play involves action, reaction. What I mean to this is that what I feel could be going on is this is entire thing is a machine, and we are either sentient or semi-sentient components in the machine, meaning that what occurs here expels from us an energy, what's called loosh, okay? And there's suffering pouring out of this realm, no matter how somebody would rather view it. Suffering is the predominant spice of the realm, okay? Now, with all that loosh going everywhere, where does it go? Well, maybe it goes out into a system, and maybe this is a hose that goes out and runs somebody's car on the other side. Who knows? It could be as simple as a shitty product in some, I don't know, Temu equivalent over there, and that's what our lives are, is to run that little product, a dildo or something, let's say. But let's say over here, its component, its counter mechanism, its positive polarity to its negative polarity would be this motivating force, right? Because this is what causes the reaction. The Bigfoot's running around scaring the shit out of people. The lizard turds running the government and making everything oppressive and hard to do. And education sucks and food sucks and all those kinds of things. Well, this is the acting force that, the interruptive parasite, right? And this is why I don't think that why the good aliens have a lot of splaining to do, is what I'm going to say. Because it seems that these aliens get to do whatever the fuck they want, and they get what they want, which is this extrusion of loosh, and then that loosh is then fed back into a system that then feeds back in more reasons to extrude loosh, and all of it perhaps is some byproduct X that goes out on the other side.
Well, maybe. Oh, go ahead.
The humans are creating their own reality. They're choosing to be violent. They're choosing to separate themselves. They're choosing to believe that. And one thing is that there's not going to be a savior that comes in and saves everybody, because then you're going to create a slave society that's that you already have now. So another thing is too, if like I can ask somebody to go, I don't know, I can ask somebody to go get me my car keys, and I can put a gun to their head and say, go get me my car keys. So that's basically what you're looking at.
What I'm seeing though is a lot of guns to heads, not many opportunities just to hand car keys. You know what I'm saying? And what's interesting about this and why suffering I think is prolific here is because of us. It's because of the way we're offered information and the way we can interpret it. This is a fuck around and find out universe. And so with that comes
they wear and they're not, I mean, they need to have balls. Like I said, they're not unit.
I don't disagree. I do not disagree with you at all. I'm not going to say that this is anyone's fault. What I'm saying is as a system, it seems that things that interfere but don't offer real help more than words seems to be adding to the lower end dimension. There's a lot of words, but there's also a lot of physical oppression with actual technology here. And these things seem to offer us a lot of, you can do it and attaboys, and you're not ready yet. But is this part of the same system?
There's several things the deep state hand planned that were that have been stopped. Not only that, but there's thousands of extraterrestrials that humans call extraterrestrials. I don't separate. The Terrans are just another extraterrestrial. To me, a Terran is an extraterrestrial. I've lived amongst extraterrestrials my whole life. But we've lost thousands of people to save this planet in battle with Earth military. So the thing is, there's an alliance between the Earth military and the extraterrestrial military. That way we're working together, because otherwise you can't have a savior structure. What good would that be? Coming down here and saying, "Oh, I'm these."
And no one's asking for a savior structure, but we are asking for is a fair shot, a clean board, right? So if there's interference, then the interference to be negated would clean the board. No one's asking to save, just to correct. So if they do have the power to correct and don't, then I feel that they're part of the system. That's all.
They're not
kind of to the loosh.
They don't have the power to influence people's thoughts. So if
they don't need to.
Well, the problem is if a ship landed in like a religious area, maybe somewhere like that,
Millsap, Texas, right? I'll give you my address. So you can tell them where to come find me. I'm right here.
Humans are going to go crazy. And if there was a shootout, I mean, you still had who controls the media? I don't know why we still don't have the media under control. There's a lot. There's a lot of complexities because they don't want your average person's head to explode, because you'll also
I'd argue we're the media.
But don't you think that but how long are we going to do that? How long are we going to disempower the average person and say that they can't handle the truth and say that they're not big enough?
Because the average person is disempowering themselves. Because if the average
Well,
person,
but we are disempowering them by saying that, and the aliens are disempowering it by assuming it. They could
well, they
visit them
don't
in their
assume it.
dreams, catch them up cognitively, and we could all be doing the shit tomorrow.
Well,
The
as a
point is
solution,
that they're
oh, go
not.
ahead.
Evan,
Oh,
go ahead.
oh no, as a solution, I was gonna say, and the way I see it, like an inverse to the Simpson worst day yet. It was like when you have a really good day and like strive for better, but like say this is the best day, like oh this is the best day so far, but
So
get
far, hell yeah.
that would drop the loosh level down on that analogy and or working the way that thing goes, and maybe eventually if like I personally believe like the if enough of the planet gets on that page that the main radio frequency that everybody dials into will whoop jump up, in which case like if you came out with you had a lightsaber, you're like, ah shit, I've been secretly working on a lightsaber, like cool, I can give them out to everybody now. Like a you wouldn't be worried about somebody stealing your idea because everybody's got everything, who cares? And then b like there wouldn't be a danger of like somebody doing something dumb with it because everybody's on a high like pay everybody's on the same page of not I don't need to hurt somebody because violence is beneath me now, like hopefully, but
Well,
that's
yeah,
like the
actually,
whole world.
I would say, because we've been on for quite a while and I have animals put away, but I would say we could be in a great way to, and I think Evan, brought up a great point where we need to start removing you know, the the system beneath what's creating the pain structures, right? In humanity, as you mentioned, people are violent because they need to be. They need to eat, they need to survive, and that's why they're using all they have is violence, and they don't see it a way out. So
But a UFO landing with a box that says you don't got to pay your electric bill anymore, that would do it. That would bring a lot of people
doesn't work
together.
like it's not that's it doesn't
It
work.
can be that simple, though. It seems that there's a lot of technology being used to hold us down that's extraterrestrial in nature, and that there's no help of the extraterrestrial technology to help. That's all I'm going to
I
say.
disagree. My husband was risked his life fighting in the tunnels, trying to take down all of the deep states. It's massive. It's massive. The infiltration on this planet is just mind blowing. So and many people and many of your military are going to start coming forward, as many already have, explaining what they've seen and what they've gone through fighting, in these terrible situations. But that's what disclosure is going to be about: is to reveal to humanity what's been withheld from you, and you're going to be 1,500 years in the future with the technology that these it's humans, it's rotten humans that are doing this to us. And that would be that's where we're actually at the explosive point now. And it's going to get ugly, because that's the only thing that is going to make the people finally grow some balls and say, I've had enough. Because right now your humans are like fine, they're like, oh, I have some bread and I have $10 in my bank account and I got a car, so life's great.
Throw Netflix on for 17 hours.
I mean,
I don't know how many.
gonna
I
push
think that percentage of people has changed so much, though.
and that's it. We're really at the touch.
Gratefully.
We're at the
I
push.
mean, what's the percentage? How many did the UFOs need? Is it like a subway card that we need to punch? Go so many times, have so many millions of people before they'll come
They're,
down.
they're saying like probably a quarter of the population, but we're way above that.
But I thought that one person changed like 750,000 people. One person's conscious energy changes 750,000 energies or something like this. Like the percentage is huge.
I mean, it could technically, I just haven't seen it, you know. But
Interesting. This wild realm that continues to
we're
get
all,
wilder. I want to recommend to the audience as well to read this book here, Exo Vaticana. This is a wonderful book by Chris Putnam and Thomas Horn. Highly recommend you guys check this out. A lot of stuff going on in the skies, and read this book. I highly recommend it.
yeah,
Just
a
keep
lot
your
of
wits
stuff.
about you, gang. A lot of weird shit going on out there, and sit with it, feel what's right for you, and tend your garden, right? That little stuff around you that you can do. That's the actionable stuff. Take your kid out to go fishing or something if you haven't done that in a while. Go take a painting class or a dancing class with your partner or something like this, right? These are the actionable things in our lives that will yield the positive results that may get a UFO landing in your yard if that's what they're into.
Yeah, that's what they're into. We're into happy party action. That's what we
Love
love.
it.
Well, it was an honor to have everyone here today. We hopefully all of our viewers, we've all made some new friends, which is the whole point of unity, right? Getting everybody together experiencing different ideas and sitting with them, right? As Brandon said, just sit with them. You know, we got to get rid of the polarity that's been fed to people on this planet, and where everyone can just hang out, be friends, and enjoy the life that you have for this particular now, right? But it's an honor to have you guys on tonight.
Oh, it's
Had a
an honor to
blast.
be
Thank you
here.
so much. Yeah, this is awesome.
And have a wonderful Halloween. There's those who celebrate.
Yeah, there you go. Right, new moon.
Happy Halloween. Absolutely. Oh, right.
All right, we'll hope we have you guys on again. All right, well, take care.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Cheers.
you.